Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. To the respectful Mem Siti Mukminatun as our lecturer for the course Introduction to Linguistics, and my fellow classmates, hello. We are Group 5A, and in this opportunity, we are going to present our topic, which is semantics. But before going further to the presentation, we would like to introduce our group members first. So, our group consists of two people. The first is Rahmafinta Maghfiroh with the student number 085, and the second is me, Nuraeni Oktavia, with the student number 086. So, this is our table of content, and we use the book by Jean Atchison, which is the Atchison's Linguistics book, as our reference. So let's just move to the first material, and it is going to be delivered by me. Okay, so here I would like to explain about semantics. What is semantics? What is the definition of semantics? So basically, semantics is a branch of linguistics that deals with the study of meaning. It shows that meanings of lexical items or words are linked together in intricate, complex, or complicated lexical structures. It is also outlines how the meaning of sentences might be handled. What does it mean by that? Simply, in semantics, you will study about the meaning of words and sentences, changes in meaning, and the principle that govern the relationship between word or sentences with their meaning. A linguist who is studying meaning tries to understand why certain words and constructions can be combined together in a semantically acceptable way while others cannot. Probably some of you might be confused, especially with the meaning of semantically acceptable way. What does it mean by that? But don't worry much. Later on in the end of our presentation, we will provide you further explanation of what is a semantically acceptable way sentence. And moving on to the next slide. So this slide will be explained by my groupmate, Rahmafinta.
Semantic fields. Every language cuts up the word in different ways. It is not simply that one language sometimes has more subdivisions than another in certain areas. For example, Arabic has numerous words for different types of camel, where English has a variety of words for different types of dog. English versus Welsh. The set of words covering a certain area in one language is unlikely to correspond to those in any other language, even when the speakers share similar cultures. This is often illustrated by the field of color terminology. For example, Welsh and English speakers have in the past led very similar lives, yet Welsh was used to cover not only the area the English speakers would call blue, but also part of green and gray as well, figured in the 8.2. Color terms reflect a spuriously simple situation, since the spectrum has well-defined boundaries. For linguists, it is important to deal with a lexical structure of a language rather than with isolated words. In semantics, as in phonology and syntax, language is not an accidental giant heap consisting of a haphazard collection of different items. Each item in a group or set can be defined by its place in relation to the other members of the set. Adolescent denotes someone who is no longer a child but not yet an adult. Cool is the temperature between cold and warm. For many people, copse refers to entirety between a tree and a wood, figured in the 8.3.
Okay, so in the concise of Oxford Dictionary, mare is defined as female or equine animal. The attempt to divide lexical items or words into component parts is known as componential analysis. It feels familiar because dictionaries often perform a similar type of analysis in informal manner. And this type of analysis can also be extended to verbs like this. This is the example. Like we can see the word die here, which means become not alive. And then the word kill here means cause become not alive. And then the word murder means intentionally cause human being become not alive. And slaughter got a similar meaning with murder, but in slaughter, the subject is animate being or animal being, not human. So slaughter is intentionally cause animate being become not alive. It is common to talk about words as if they are made up of piles of different parts, but unfortunately, the entire approach incorrectly suggests that if we look closely enough at all of these components, we might be able to sort them out. The term component and componential analysis are no longer in use because of that. Okay, so next slide, please.
Synonyms and opposites. Synonym and opposites is a useful way of studying lexical relationships. To gain a fuller understanding of how lexical items hang together within a language, we need to look at the different types of relationship which exist between words. Synonyms and opposites of a word can give valuable insight into its links with the rest of the vocabulary. Perfect synonym is that the study of opposites is more complex. That is, it's very unusual for two lexical items to have exactly the same meanings in all contexts. Occasionally, such synonym is found between formal and informal vocabulary items. The study of opposites is more complex as there are several different types of opposite. For this reason, the word antonym has been avoided. Some writers use it for all types of opposite, others for one kind only. And this is an example from synonyms and opposites. And opposites has three types. The first type, pair of words in which the negative of one implies the other. And then in the second type of opposite is one which is not absolute but relative to same standard, some small and large. And then in the third type is when one word is the converse of the other. The choice of one opposite rather than another depends on the angle from which you view the situation being described.
Classification. In English, for example, claret and hock are classified as wines, while tea and coffee are referred to as beverages. But both wines and beverages come under the heading of drinks. This indicates that the vocabulary of a language is partially hierarchically structured. In Roget's thesaurus, each entry has under it a list of hyponyms. Hyponyms means lexical items subsumed or classified under it. Its fundamental flaw is that it does not differentiate between stylistic or social variables that influence the synonym choice. The advantages of looking at these different relationships are that they enable us to understand the multiple links between different words and can sometimes be expressed by many of logical notation. Next slide.
Fuzziness and family resemblance. Fuzziness and family relationships provide problems for understanding word meaning. Humans probably built themselves mental models which make sense of the world around them. They sometimes incorporate prototypes idealized pictures of items in the world. Fuzziness is another problem. Words often have fuzzy edges. There is no absolute divide between a cup and a mug, a glass and a vase, or a plate and a saucer. They all merge into one another. People use them inconsistently, calling something a vase one day and a glass the next. Family resemblance create further difficulties sometimes. A word such as furniture covers a whole range of things, which share characteristics with one another as two members of a family. Yet it may be impossible to think of a set of characteristics which describes them all.
Okay, humans built mental models in order to make sense of the world around them. But they also form ideas about more abstract concepts that is often based on their own culture. Let me give you an example about this. So let's say English speakers. They see a week as having 7 days that is divided into 5 working days, followed by 2 days that we called weekend. Though actually in the world, like in this world, there's no one who forced this viewpoint. However, on the other side, we have Inca. Like in an Inca week, they had 9 days, which consist of 8 working days, and then another day is market day, on which the king changed his wives. Another example is Western parents. Western parents assume that a mother is someone who not only gives birth to a child, but also looks after it, takes care of it, and she would live together with the father of the child. Basically, this is a culturally based picture, and this is not necessarily true around the globe because in some region or area or culture, they might see a mother as a person who just give birth to them, or maybe give birth and also take a good care of them, but doesn't live together with the father, or any possible conditions. Well, those conditions, we can find those in some area or maybe in history, like in the Europe around at the 18th century, if I'm not mistaken. They sent their child to the city to be breastfeeded and taken care by wet nurse. For Muslims, the situation might be familiar too, since Prophet Muhammad was also breastfeeded by wet nurse. Psychologists invented the term mental model to describe the representations that humans create of the world, but the phenomena has a wide range of application. Those who work in the field of cultural studies pervert the term representation. This concept describes both subconscious or inherited representations as well as those promoted by politicians using euphemism like pinpoint strikes.
The meaning of sentences. The meaning inquired a lot about the meaning of sentences, since sentences are individual words linked together by means of the syntax. It enables us to understand why a sentence like "My brother is a spinster" effectively is contradictory. We would be saying, "My male sibling is an unmarried female." Working out logical relationships is not the only way in which humans cope with meanings. We put our common sense to work.
Okay, so here we have a short video, a minute and a half long, that might be helpful to some of you just to have more understanding in what semantics is and the differences with syntax. And in this video, too, there will be an example and further explanation about how a sentence is not semantically acceptable. The source of this video is from Think Them Languages, a YouTube channel that we already familiar with. So here's the video.
Syntax certainly has to do with meaning in some sense. So, what does it mean that we're going to study meaning? Well, take a look at the sentences that I have below me. The first one is a sentence that has bad syntax, but we can kind of understand what it means. The Sheldon to went Penny's apartment, knocks on door and said, Penny, penny, penny. That's a sentence that obviously has some bad structure to it. It has bad syntax. But we can sort of understand what it means because we understand all the words and kind of can figure out how they logically would go together. Take a look at the other sentence, which is syntactically well formed. We can even make a syntax tree out of this sentence, and all of the parts line up nicely into their correct spots. But the sentence doesn't really mean anything. How can physics be angry? And how can Leonard be the owner of angry physics? How can physics dislike something? And how can a couch be theoretical? So these sentences illustrate how you can have a sentence that's syntactically well formed, but not semantically, and you can have another sentence that has some kind of semantic meaning, but it's not syntactically well formed. That's the difference between semantics and syntax.
Okay, so from the video, we can see that this sentence is semantically correct but is syntactically wrong. And this one is syntactically correct but is semantically wrong. I hope by seeing this video, you can have a better understanding about what is an example of sentences that is semantically correct and is not semantically correct. And the end of the video marks the end of our presentation today. Thank you very much to all of our fellow classmates for watching our presentation, and also to Ma'am Siti Mukminatun. We hope you can get more insight into what semantics is, and you can take anything good from our presentation today. We are sorry for any mistakes caused by us in this presentation, and we are waiting for your positive feedback, additional for information, or maybe questions in the forum discussion. Once again, thank you very much and have a wonderful day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.